We're good.
All right.
Good to go?
Welcome back to the Volly House Podcast, episode
36.
36.
Right.
Yep. We are here at Colca Studios. We got Phil back on the sticks. Ryan is out today.
Philip.
I think I got this set up right.
Yeah.
It's working?
Looks good.
All right.
Go to volleyhousepodcast.com to ask us questions or send in stories or videos you'd like us to review. Also, give us a follow on all social media platforms at Volly House Podcast. And we'll get right into iCommand Board. Every video we see from a career department incident shows an incident command board on scene. Yet, in many NIOSH LODD reports, a recurring finding is lack of proper incident command. As a chief in the volunteer fire service, your responsibility is to ensure the safety of everyone operating at every incident. Gone are the days of managing this in your head or on a simple whiteboard. The owner of iCommand Board, a volunteer fire chief, took this challenge head-on by developing a professional tool tailored for volunteer fire officers. These command boards are designed with size, affordability, and most importantly, accountability at the forefront. Packed with critical information and checklists, they're built to help you stay organized and focused at every event. Visit iCommandBoard.com today and take the next step in ensuring the safety and success of your department.
Sorry, not a lot of room to show it.
You're all good.
Only two angles today.
Two angles,
Two
yeah.
cameras.
Yeah, and I'm just exhausted today. So,
Aren't we all? It's a Monday.
yeah. I was telling Kev I went a little hard on Saturday.
Huh?
Went a little hard on Saturday. Still feeling
I
it.
went halfway. It was at Quorum's Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
But I was being good. Handed out a lot of stickers. But a lot of people came up and said they loved the podcast, which was great.
That's awesome.
But you always got to support other agencies and companies if we can.
100%.
I haven't been going out much.
Good.
I'm honestly kind of bored of it.
Better off.
It's good bored
Phil's
of it.
getting old. He can't handle
Although
it
I'm
anymore.
going to Myrtle Beach and Fort Lauderdale. Going to Myrtle Beach this week and Fort Lauderdale the following week.
Also,
Bachelor parties?
Wedding and bachelor. One's a wedding, one's bachelor.
there's some Volly House stickers down in Fort Lauderdale if you can find them.
I'll find them.
Maybe you get a free T-shirt. I'll throw you a free T-shirt
Maybe
if
I'll
you
ship
find it.
myself a T-shirt.
What did we switch today? You got the water bottle, I got the...
Yeah, you know what? I drink liquid IV out of my Yeti, so
I have...
Water
Water
Boy's
Boy.
Water Boy's better.
what is that? A new powder?
Yeah.
Less sugar.
Definitely less sugar. It's not...
Liquid IV's got zero sugar.
Yeah, but it doesn't have all the crap in it or whatever it is. I don't
They
know.
probably all suck.
I don't know. They're all probably.
No, this stuff works pretty
Hydration is key, though.
well. Yeah. All right, let's get into suspended or not.
Phil, get yourself a pair of glasses, all right?
At
Glasses.
frontlineoptics.com. Use code VHP15 for 15% off. Suspended or not. A department receives a mutual aid call for RIT/FAST team. One of the substation rolls their rig, which is RIT equipped because they had a crew in-house. However, this job was not in their response area, and the preferred RIT truck had a full crew responding to HQ, but they didn't roll because the other company already took it in.
What do you guys use as RIT? Your heavy rescues? Primary?
Typically, with usually each substation outfitted, one of the engines outfitted with RIT equipment.
RIT, like a RIT
Stokes
pack?
basket,
Stokes? What about you? What truck?
Well, we used to have two rescues, so the rescues were outfitted, and then our Quint, but that was changed around. So now all our engines are equipped, our rescues are equipped, our ladders are equipped. So any rig can really go, but you know when you have policies and procedures in place, you should really follow them as best as possible.
We have ours was always primarily the rescue truck. But I always thought that the ladder truck was a better. Every unit, every rig had, even all the engines too, all have RIT packs, and I'm pretty sure
Stokes baskets.
just the engines don't have Stokes. So my thought was always, you're going to a fire if you're going to RIT. Why bring the rescue? Bring the ladder truck, because then you have a ladder as well. You have a fully equipped ladder truck with all the same tools.
It depends how your ladder truck's outfitted, though. I mean, if it has the proper equipment.
Yeah,
you
I mean,
know,
in my case, we had a Stokes, a RIT pack, every tool you could need.
extrication equipment, airbags.
No extrication, but it's a writ call for a fire.
Okay, and what happens when you have a collapse or somebody's pinned under a piece of steel? Then what do you do?
Yeah, well, you got a lot bigger
I'm
problems.
just, I'm just saying, so, like, once you get on scene, you can obviously look at what's on scene and see where you can get equipment from, which is always, something that you need to do. But you also want to make sure that you're bringing appropriate equipment that you can do just about anything. Because when you have a structure fire or possibly a Mayday or a RIT type, somebody could be trapped. They can be pinned. So now, how are you going to handle that? Do you have the appropriate equipment to handle that? Like, our engines now, they have RIT, Stokes baskets, RIT packs. They have airbags. They have, they extrication equipment. Like, they have everything you possibly could need.
You got airbags for every unit?
Our engines have 2 small airbags on it, and it has one, the multi-force, which is the double bag. It's like
Okay.
together.
Yep.
Yeah, we got one
So,
of those.
they're all outfitted for just about anything. But like I said, when you get to the scene, you should always be looking around. Like, one of the things that I think is overlooked a lot, if you have RIT at a fire, they may need a line. Like, where are you going to get a line from? Like, I always look at that. I always look at where I can get another fast pack or RIT pack. I always look at where I can stretch a line from, where I can get more ladders from. Like, because you don't know what the situation is going to entail when there's a Mayday. Sometimes it's just somebody lost or running out of air. Other times there's been a collapse or something happened. They got stuck. And now you got to worry about that as well. So
I think
How do you
part of
go?
the issue too that I've seen is like companies that are hanging out, bunch of people, like you want to try and get your rig out as fast as possible when a call comes through. So you might, and I think we talked about this before, but you have the people that just hop on the rig to go that aren't necessarily the top guys for a RIT operation.
see, we have to have 4 RIT trained people for them to go.
RIT trained how? Like the just
You
the
have to
rig
take the RIT
qualification?
class, RIT
County RIT?
qualification.
Yeah, which I think
Yeah.
for the most part,
Not everybody has.
I know not everyone has, but that was always the thing that they would tell you. Like once you're done with firefighter 1, we want you to take heavy rescue and we want you to take RIT.
Which is smart.
Yeah, like that's what we want you guys taking before you decide you want to start moving on to other.
But then again, it's perishable skills. You have to
100%.
train on this. If you're not training, just because you take a class and collect a certificate doesn't mean that you're trained well enough to handle any situation.
Well, I look at it, for instance, headquarters. You have rescue, ladder, and engine 4 in there. But typically, headquarters companies cross-trained because you got guys getting on the ladder, guys getting on the rescue
That's
that
my
are in the engine
department.
company and vice versa. But truck would always do, hey, we're doing a RIT drill tonight. Okay, so it would be pretty much everyone from headquarters that's doing the RIT drill, where maybe the substation engine companies aren't training on RIT all the time. So
It really depends on the department. Every department's going to be a little different.
Absolutely.
There's departments on Long Island here that engine guys are only allowed on the engine, and truck guys are only allowed on the truck. It's just the way it is, And then you go to other departments where it's a mix. My station is like its own department. We have an engine, we have a ladder, we have a rescue, we have a brush truck, we have ambulances. We have it all. So if it's our first due response area, our engine goes first to a structure fire. If it's second or third second due area in the other 2 stations, we roll our ladder truck first. If it's a heavy rescue or something like that, we roll a rescue truck first. It just depends on where it is and what the location is.
Tell me if I'm wrong for this. I'm
You're wrong.
always, no matter what,
Yeah, David,
if something
please.
comes over and it sounds good, I always start crewing up the ladder. Because I know that there's 6 other engines in this department, and I always go, there's a 1 out of 6 chance that those trucks can get out right, like they're just going to get out.
Yep.
Or even more,
a good
more than
chance,
1 out
yeah.
of 6. Where with the ladder, like we're more limited on chauffeurs. Like I always, especially being a chauffeur and just being in the truck company, like I'm always like I go straight to it. I start it, like I'm like ready to go. And people will be like, "Oh, like why are you starting the ladder? The engine didn't get out yet." I'm like, "Well, there's 6 of those and there's 1 of these."
Right.
I'm like, "So I want this thing ready to get out the door."
I agree.
I don't think that's a bad thing to do.
Well, do you have water
problem-
on your ladder? You don't have water on your ladder.
No water.
Right,
The
see,
problem I had with that was sometimes you'd get
You'd get the guys who do it because they just don't want to go on the engine.
right.
Yeah.
But I remember having a job one time, and it was on the other end of town, on like or actually middle of town. So, in the truck company's response area, the engine company from the east end of town went en route, but it was going to take them a while
little
to
bit
get
longer,
there.
yeah.
And the truck guys decided to roll the ladder, and showed up first due with a ladder, and there's no water on that ladder, and the engine company's still way out. Or you had like
They
say
had great
three.
positioning though.
Yeah, right.
But I still think that's still not bad. They're on the road.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad. What
Yeah,
I'm
but you
saying
could have
is
got there with an engine quicker and put water in
when
the
you're
fire.
sharing headquarters with an engine company, and you had
I know you could beat them with the engine if you took your engine from headquarters. Yeah.
right, which I'm not even from like beat them in standpoint, but when you have a crew that you could roll an engine with, but you decided to choose the ladder because the engine from the east end of town is already heading out there. That's where it kind of gets. But I don't think they're what you're saying like.
I think
started,
of it
don't
both
something wrong with
ways.
that.
Like I could get a search started quicker by the time they have that line ready. I'm already inside, already
Mm-hmm.
find the fire. I can go back out and lead them in the right direction. Or I could have, then we have two engines, first and second due, and then I guess you're doing a search with a hose line. I don't know,
There's pluses and minuses
Yeah.
to everything. I mean, we're fortunate our ladder trucks have water on them.
Yeah.
So I have 300 gallons of water. I could stretch a line if we get there first, which has happened.
What do you guys have, a tower ladder? Is it the tower
We have
ladder?
a tower
did the
ladder at
arch?
my station, and then we have a straight stick.
That
at the
thing has
other
a pump
station.
on it?
They both have pumps.
Oh, shit.
Do your
So-
Quints have? Oh yeah,
The
obviously.
Quints have
Yeah,
pumps and
Yeah.
water.
Yeah.
So
Which
this
I
way,
actually-
if we do get in first, we'll stretch a line if need be, or
I-
we'll start a search depending on how far out the other engine is.
I did a drill with the substations yesterday, and their quints are actually outfitted really nice. They got a bunch of 300-foot
Oh, you actually looked
speed
at it?
blaze. Yeah, because you know what I was like.
Went down?
You know
You
what's
had to go
crazy?
look at it?
I never look at pump panels because I'm just like I'm not a pump operator. I'm like I just don't even pay attention to them. And obviously I looked at it. I'm like, oh, this makes sense. And I'm like, this thing's pretty fucking outfitted to like kind of do
Everything.
everything you need. Auto extrication aside, they're pretty fucking set up.
Pump panels. If you're not a engine chauffeur and you look at a pump panel, it
It
looks
looks
like
like,
a
yeah.
shit show.
Yeah.
Well, everybody should.
There's just gauges
everybody should know how to
and
put it in
knobs
pump
and but it's really when you get down to like the nitty gritty, it's like these is super simple.
A lot of the stuff is digital now. I know the older trucks had a lot more analog dials and
Yeah.
knobs and stuff. So a lot of the stuff was digital, which was cool.
Yeah.
It's good and bad. It's like anything else.
I know that stuff could fail. Like that's.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I lost the camera.
Oh, 'cause I
there
clicked.
you go.
I clicked
Hit the
camera
wrong
3.
button.
So in a case like that, for the suspended
Yeah,
or not, yeah,
Yeah, we went off track here.
yeah, sometimes we do that.
I don't know about suspended, but I think there should be a warning. We have the same situation, and it just happened in my department pretty recently. So we're mutual aid for a ladder to certain departments around us. And the other station, which has the straight stick, they rolled. They had a crew, so they took off. And it states very clearly in our SOPs that the primary vehicle for going out of district as a ladder is the tower ladder.
Right.
And that's how most people had always looked at our department is they have the tower ladder. Like we have a department that has, a straight stick next to us. Actually, two departments have straight sticks right next to us. So, it was always, the reason why they're calling us is because they need a ladder company and they probably need the tower ladder. Nobody did anything, a couple guys, made comments about it. I don't think, but, we really should be trying to follow our policies because they're there for a reason.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world. At least you got the ladder there. You do have a ladder pipe that you could put in operation, but you can flow a tremendous amount of more water out of a tower ladder, or ladder tower it is, but you can flow a lot more water. So, you got to be very careful when you have SOPs or policies in place and you're violating because they were put there for a reason.
Job of the week. We had a submission.
Hop hog, fire department, basement fire.
Yeah, small fire.
We already talked about that.
I know. I threw it in the group. We have a
We
little.
didn't talk about it on the show.
Yeah, but we had
thought
a
we
little
did.
text. So I
Oh, it's on
text these
fire.
guys. I'm like, somebody had put in the 5th Division group. They're like, Kevin Yost is this job of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Right away, like as soon as it came in.
So it was a typical hop hog fire.
But it was, don't say typical.
No, it's typical because that's what happens around here. Something goes on fire and some magical thing puts it out. This was a treadmill
It happens.
in a basement that goes on fire, melts PEX hooked up to a water main, and just
put the
fucking
fire
puts
out,
itself
flood it
out.
out. I've seen a couple of those with boilers or the pipes,
Yeah.
the
So it's a
do-
fuckload of smoke, but
I
no
have to
fire.
back you
awesome.
up on that because I remember one time I was actually at
awesome.
my cousin's firehouse up in Seacliff for his kid's christening, and we get a call for a plane crash. And I'm seeing in the group chats, like, people are calling saying people are jumping out of this airplane, and it landed here in the industrial park. And I'm like, this is going to be a shit show. And it was like, that year, for whatever reason, there was a bunch of, like, plane crashes around, and they were, pretty, like, significant. But this one that happened over here, the plane was one of those style planes that had a parachute built into it. So the engines failed, and they blew the parachute out, and it safely landed on the, which is
best case scenario.
yeah, which is great.
pretty cool.
But it's like we were just laughing. We're like the typical, like we
Yeah.
say, if that plane were to go down, if the engine failed, in the district south of here,
Yeah. It would have been on News 12.
Yeah, it would have been like a whole neighborhood decimated and stuff like that. But here, no, it just
Yeah.
safely landed.
There's been a lot of small plane incidents. I mean, we
Yeah.
haven't had one in a while, but we've had a couple. We
Do
had
you
one
guys
that
look
landed
at
right in
Do you
the
guys
water.
look at flight radar? Do you have flight radar?
Yeah, I
on your
look at
phone?
it sometimes.
I love looking at it, especially with the Ryder Cup. You see so much. There was a Cessna just doing laps.
Yeah,
around
yeah.
Bethpage.
I picked up my daughter at the at MacArthur, and as I was coming out, I'm looking, and you could see these planes just parked, and they're all these different countries.
Yeah.
Because they were flying into Islip, and I guess they have nowhere else to put them, so they park them there. They were just like all
You know
over
what
the
I
place.
saw?
Brazil and
I saw on Instagram today that Blade, the helicopter charter.
yeah, charter.
Not Bethpage Black. Is there Bethpage Red? Is that the other?
Yeah,
is there another one?
there's a red, a blue.
They used red as like a
helipad?
Blade, not just a helipad. There was like 7.
Yeah, there's
like
people
it
going
was
on
almost like a
landing right there.
little heliport.
That's a good.
And
course
they were
too.
going
Red
back
is
and
good.
forth
Yeah.
to like the city, probably a little bit.
Well,
down
they're probably
East
to the
Coast.
airports too. They're
Yeah,
probably
so
just coming
people,
in and out of the
people that
airports.
lived in the area, they were like, the noise from the helicopters was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, like anytime those private helicopters fly over, you hear them 5 minutes out before they're over your head, and it sounds like the fucking military's coming
Well,
in. Then you look up, and it's way up in the sky, this private helicopter. Meanwhile, like the PD helicopters,
They buzz over my house all the time.
Yeah, but they're
I'm
not
right
as
by
loud as,
I'm
like,
right by
the-
Stony Brook
They're pretty
University.
loud. The PD helicopter is pretty loud.
they are, but like if they're flying normal altitude, I feel like they're a lot quieter than the private ones.
I don't know.
flying
Everything
private.
rattles in my house when they come over my house. I mean, the hospital's literally 2 minutes from my house.
I mean, yeah,
So sometimes they come right over, my development, and like all of a sudden things just start rattling.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
What is that? And sure enough, it's the helicopter.
I love when the F-18s.
And occasionally it's the military too. The military flies in
Yeah,
sometimes
they
to
got-
Stony
they
Brook. Or
got-
Coast Guard, they'll get somebody out in the water and bring them in.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
I love when I didn't see Trump with the F-18s at the Ryder Cup, but they came over for Jones Beach. They were obviously just flying everywhere. I love the sound of when those things fly over. It's just like you hear it from a distance, and it's like, what the fuck is that? And then you hear it for like a couple minutes, like even as they
Quick,
fly
though.
away.
They're like,
Yeah.
Well, I remember being at work one time in the office, and just it sounded like a big truck came down the street next to us. Like everything rattled, and I come to find out that there was some fighter jets off the coast, but they were down, I think, just on like the southern coast of New Jersey, and one of them hit broke the sound barrier.
Oh, yeah, bang.
and it
Yeah.
ricocheted
Oh, yeah.
like all the way out here. It's insane.
see, you guys are too young, but we used to have Grumman on Long Island, and they used to do all the test flights out there. So the F-14s and everything, and they'd fly out. And I was Boy Scout years ago. The Boy Scout camp, they would fly right over the top of Boy Scout camp, man.
Just blow the
Freaking
windows
just-
out?
Holy.
Well, what was was it the Concorde? Those old,
Yeah, the Concorde,
they had
yeah.
stopped flying those because just blowing people's windows out every time it took
Well, it
off.
was too expensive. I mean, between the fuel and everything else.
Yeah.
But you make it to London in like, what was it, 45 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Insane.
So this job of the week was actually
East
sent
Meadow?
by Ed Wilmarth. And East Meadow had a
East Meadow had a good job.
Third alarm.
Yeah,
Right?
they did a pretty good job.
This one was for Breezy.
Hempstead, I think, had one too.
Yes, last night.
That was
and
this
then,
morning? Or?
Yeah,
I think
like
it
I
was this
guess
morning, early this
overnight.
morning, yeah.
And then Roslyn had one just before we got in here. Commercial job. Sounded like fire on the roof. This one's from actually the morning of September 11th, Breezy Point, Queens.
Oh, yeah, they had the Breezy fire, yep.
Early morning fire in a 2-story private dwelling, fully involved on arrival. FDNY, Point Breeze, Rockaway Point, and Roxbury volunteer fire departments all operated. Homeowner heard glass breaking and called police thinking it was a break-in, not realizing there was a fire, which caused initial delays in the fire departments being notified. This, along with many open windows due to the beautiful breezy overnight weather and limited number of fire hydrants, as well as low hydrant pressure once multiple engines were trying to pull from the same water main, contributed to the rapid growth of the firewire, cause believed to be electrical.
That's a tough area out there.
Yeah.
It's 8,300 box, FDNY 8,300. Yeah, I was talking, I was at my company, I was at Squad 270 on the 11th. I was talking to the chief, and he went to that fire, and he was telling me about it. He goes, I haven't had one in a while there, but, it's always interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's no easy way in and out. It's tough. The hydrants, it's like a dead-end main down there. And then they have these walks. There's not a lot of roads. They're basically boardwalks.
Right, yeah.
So it's difficult sometimes getting water or getting into certain locations. And they used to have like hose boxes and stuff, so like on the boardwalks and stuff. I don't know if they still have those, but
I've never been in that like far Rockaway area.
it's way out there.
I've never
Like if you
needed to.
call, when you call and say you have a fire or whatever, it goes usually to security, like, unless you call 911 direct. But most of them call security, and then security pulls the box in the security booth to get into Breezy, and that's notifies everybody. It's pretty wild out
It's
there.
interesting, yeah.
The closest I've been is JFK.
Yeah, right.
I went to a couple fires out there years ago. It's always interesting.
Drill of the week. So I was reading something interesting, speaking of East Meadow before, virtual reality training. Mm-hmm. So I guess East Meadow's the first department out here on Long Island that started doing it, but it's a new system. It gives you 60 different scenarios, fire scenarios, and it has a vest that whoever's using, it's like virtual reality goggles where you're with a hose that I guess is supplied by this company, and you have a vest that heats up as you get closer to the fire.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
different.
And
I didn't
I
know
guess
about
the nozzle, the nozzle will give you resistance, like you're actually feeling the pressure. You could also hear all the noises, people yelling for help, saws, all that stuff. And obviously, it doesn't duplicate real life scenarios, but it's also being used as a potential recruiting tool for younger members, people that are, I guess, like into video games and stuff like that. So I thought that was interesting to talk about because
VR training.
yeah,
Well, like we said before, there's a lot of videos, social media, stuff like that. You can learn both good and bad from stuff, and this is just another tool. Nothing will ever replace hands-on training.
Right.
That's just the way it is. But could you do other things, or could you do things at home when you can't be at the firehouse or something
Well,
like
this
that,
is-
or you're by yourself?
So the article looked like
but it's pretty neat.
they'd interviewed one of the commissioners over there, and he was saying that obviously this doesn't change that we're still going to be doing live fires and stuff like that, but because they're not doing live fire training, say every week, this is just another opportunity
It's
for
another-
people to kind of.
it's another way.
And have you ever put on the virtual reality?
Oh yeah, it's interesting.
Have you?
Get a little nauseous with some things.
So I
You
got
ever
this.
do the one where you go up in the elevator and you walk out on the plank?
Yes, I know which one you're talking about. There's
It makes your mind
It
go.
does.
You
There's-
really think you're on a beam like
Yeah.
100 stories up.
There's one I have because I have the Oculus, and
that's what I have,
there's an airplane game. Like it's a World War I fighter pilot game.
Do you get sick? Does it make you
I don't
sick?
get sick with that one, but after a while, I got to take it off because I'm like my
Probably hurts
I
your
get
eyes
fucked
and
up.
stuff.
it fucks with your like equilibrium.
It does. I mean,
I don't own one. I've just put it on a couple times. It's interesting.
I mean,
The roller coaster.
I was just gonna say the roller coaster that'll make your stomach drop.
Yeah,
When
it's
you're
no
sitting-
joke. Yeah.
There's one where you have these guns and you're on a roller coaster and these things are like jumping out at you and you're shooting them.
Well,
but,
it's
like,
your mind.
yeah, but it because you're so encapsulated in it, your brain really thinks it's happening. Meanwhile, you're sitting
Right.
on your fucking couch. But it's like, so I'm curious to see. I would love
Listen,
to
I
hear
mean,
from those guys.
I mean, we just had the Ryder Cup, which is, golf, and you play, I play, but it's a very mental game. Like it screws you up. Like looking at water, right? You look at water, right? You hit your ball in the water. And when you ride a motorcycle, it's similar. Like I ride a bike, you got to ride looking way ahead. Wherever your eyes go, that's where the bike's going to go. Like even on the turn, like they always talk about, look ahead in the turn. Don't look right at the turn. Don't look at a cone because that's where you're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
If you look ahead, it's all mental.
well, it's like
So-
driving a fire truck.
Correct, but-
Wheels being underneath you.
It's the same
opposed to in front
idea
of you.
with everything you do. When we're firefighting, you have to have good mental and physical shape. And if you're not mentally competent or your mind is in another place, you're not going to operate well, and that's why we have to have strong tactics, strong policies, and strong training that your body and your mental mind will always revert back to your training because that's when we're going to do the best work.
Right, which I think is why this is interesting because
No,
we're just
it
saying,
absolutely is because, like you said, it makes your mind think that you're actually doing it.
Yeah, I love the idea of the heat up.
I've never heard of that one before. I've
Yeah,
heard
that-
of doing
It
drills
gets so
and stuff
hot,
like
it
that.
actually goes on fire.
Yeah,
at some
right.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah. What happens if you fail the training?
If you're getting
Fire,
too
right?
if you're getting
Goes up
too
in
hot, you
flames.
shouldn't,
Yeah, it
you shouldn't be
explodes.
there anyway.
yeah. Well, I mean,
It's like it's in like lesson plans. It's like lesson failed. It fucking
Poof.
bursts up in
Yeah.
flames.
But
Try again.
there are also, the FDNY's had it a long time, but there are driving simulators
yes,
where it's a bunch of screens and there's departments out there that have it.
I think
They
those are
purchased
fucking
it.
stupid as fuck.
It actually is,
Go drive the fucking truck in a parking lot.
I agree with you, but it is pretty. You can put scenarios in it where people walk in front of you, where another fire truck is approaching or an ambulance at an intersection. There's so much
Could
more
make
that.
all those things happen.
well, I do,
Yeah, but you can't
I
do that in real life. I mean, you're driving around in a truck and you're just driving it.
I
but
will
to put
say-
you through lights and sirens, that once again it gets back to your mental. You're driving down and a car comes in front of your path. Like, what do? You got to hit the brakes. Like so it puts you through different types of scenarios or drills that you're going to encounter when you're actually driving a rig.
Where I think that's good is I know that there's guys out there that I've tried to say, hey, let's get you qualified in the rig. They just weren't comfortable yet with getting in the rig and the feel and how big it is. And, that's a perfect scenario for, hey, start guys there. And then you could bring them out into a parking lot after, just so they have somewhat of an idea. Then get them in a parking lot, driving around. Obviously if guys are cool to get trained, then yeah, start bringing them out.
I think that people really overcomplicate driving fire trucks. I think you just got to drive. Like, I think it's safe to say some people can drive and some people can't. Like,
Well, that's a fact.
I think
with
some
that.
people just can't. Like, maybe it's just easier to drive a car because it's smaller. But some people can drive and some people can't, whether it's a
people can't
car
drive a
or
car.
a fire truck.
Yeah, no, I agree with
So
that.
like when I was 21 and I started driving the ladder truck, which is 46 feet long, I wasn't really nervous. The biggest thing for me was the height. Like driving something so tall with a bucket in my face because we have a rear mount. It was more so of like, this is such a different feel in terms of I can't really see what I'm used to seeing. I'm now looking down. But it wasn't like, I wasn't like worried about, damn, this thing's just too big for the road. Like I can't
agree
fucking
with
drive
that.
it. Like I think it just comes down to like, one, people get freaked out because it's massive. And then it's just like, the thing fits on the road. It's legal. It's not like a monster truck that takes up all the lanes.
Right.
Like, so it's doable. I think people just like get too in their head. I don't know what it is.
I agree with that.
You got to be able to concentrate and realize what you're actually driving. And that's really comes down to it. I mean, when we got our new ladder truck years ago, we went from a rear mount to a mid mount. And I'd driven once or twice, mid mount, but I I wasn't comfortable when we first got it. And they're like, oh, we're just going to sign you off. I go, nah, don't sign me off. I'm not ready. And they're like, what do you mean you're not ready? You know, you drive fire trucks. I'm like, yeah, but this is a 49-foot truck with a big swing, you know, in height, and it's just different. Plus, it was wider. I mean, that rig was 102 wide, you know, and this is the thing, getting back to understanding, you know, when we talk about gear and everything else, like, there's so much to building a fire truck. It's not like just you build a truck, you know.
Right.
Is it 8 feet wide? Is it a little over 8 feet? Is it wider than that? Like, that truck was 102 wide. Our old truck was 96 inches wide, 8 foot. So it's wider. And then you have the steps that stick out, the mirrors that stick out. That's a very wide truck. So it's totally different than what we were used to. And I just didn't feel comfortable enough because I hadn't driven enough. And I said, I'll wait a couple weeks and then I'll get signed off. So, you know, you don't have to rush things. You have to be comfortable.
I think to your point, getting people in the front seat and driving to feel the weight when you're turning and everything like that. You know, I used to tell people all the time, you know, drive it like you're driving a car, in the sense that, like you mentioned, I don't want to freak them out.
Yeah.
Like, just drive it. But yes, there are different things.
Sitting in front of the axle is a little weird.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. Like, the wheels are pretty much underneath you, and the one big thing here is it's not going to stop as fast as a car. You know, like, there's a lot of weight behind this thing. If somebody cuts you off, like, it's going to be a problem.
There are a lot of factors, and there's a lot of things people don't look at. You know, brake fade, for instance, right? Especially with bigger rigs, you can have brake fade, which means the brakes get too hot.
The stopping power is not there.
Your stopping power is not going to be as much, especially if you're braking a lot. And then if you're going downhill, and like our old rear mount had a big problem with that. You know, sometimes you were driving it a little bit and then you're going down a hill, and that thing, I went right by an intersection once. I wanted to turn, and that truck just kept going. There was no way I was stopping. So, you know, we've advanced a little bit with our equipment, with
what year was that
the
truck?
Jake brakes. That was an 88. But with Jake brakes, with, you know, there's a lot of different braking things now that can help you and assist you. So there's a lot of changes or, you know, upgrades that we've made to make rigs safer. I mean, the first rig I drove was from the 60s and 70s, you know. Our first new engine was a 72 Seagrave.
They didn't stop very well, I'm sure.
It didn't stop, but it also didn't weigh as much either, you know.
Yeah.
So, but we did have a rig that was 1,000 gallons. Now, that rig handled totally different. It was basically the same size truck, but that had 1,000 gallons. The other one had 500 gallons.
I've never driven I've driven an engine. I never drove it in like much of a capacity. How does the slosh, does it actually affect your stopping as much? Like, I know the tanks have
Not
a
as much,
baffle
because
in it.
most have baffles.
Yeah.
You know, the older rigs, you know, going back, and, you know, there's some brush trucks out there like these stump jumpers that, you know, they were kind of handmade, you know, back in the day that didn't have baffles. So, you know, if it's full to the top, the water's not going to slosh much. But if you have
like
partial
half a tank,
then you got work.
'Cause
Half
guys
the tank,
used
you
to
do
say-
feel it a little bit, but like
You
say,
can.
the baffles in it.
Guys used to say, Engine 4 guys, old guys, they used to be like, this thing doesn't, like the engines, these things don't stop. You got to be careful stopping. I'm like, that's like a 50,000 pound engine. I'm like, this ladder truck's 80,000 pounds. You're going to tell me that thing doesn't stop? I'm like, they're like,
Yes,
oh,
but
like,
yeah, there's differences, you know. So you're going to have more brakes because you have more axles, right? So, you know, and then depending on what you have in there, you know, of braking and what kind of brakes and stuff like that, it's all factored in, you know. So,
and they're relatively new. So, like, I would assume the Jake brakes, tranny brakes, and everything worked well. So,
Yeah.
or a Telma, you know, and, you know, New York City used Telmas for a long time. We have it on our rescue truck. We had it on our old ladder. That Telma is a giant magnet. It draws a lot of power. But basically what it does is it spins in the opposite direction of the drive shaft, and it slows it down. But our rescue truck almost stops on a dime, and that thing is very, very heavy.
our new rescue, it's a 21 Spartan cab Rescue 1 box. That thing with the Jake brake on, with the engine brake on high, it's like hitting a speed bump. It's like so powerful.
They're powerful. Well,
It's-
but
I
then
actually
again,
use it on low,
you
'cause
can
it's too much.
you can change that to what it downshifts to. Like, does it downshift to third gear, to second gear? Like, you can adjust so many things on these rigs nowadays. So you can make it more aggressive and go from fifth gear to second gear, you know, or stuff like that. So when we look at rigs, like I say, it's not just you buy a rig and you go, oh, this is a cool thing. There's so many little things that you can put into these rigs to make it more beneficial to you.
Honestly, it probably could be tuned better because it's so abrupt. It probably could be.
I remember with the new engines, they had the governor on it where if you hit a certain speed, the throttle would let out. And then you'd have to get off the gas, step on it again, then it'd be like, doo, 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 and then shake fucking half the seats out of that.
Well, now some of
Yeah,
the
it was-
rigs
it was
too,
such a
if
pain in the
you
ass.
take a turn too fast,
Oh,
it
no, I'm
automatically
sorry.
shuts it down.
Yes, because of the ladder.
Because it won't,
That's a tilt.
because
thing,
of
right?
rollover kind of issues. But yes, there are a lot of factors. Like our rigs, years ago we had them governed to 55 miles an hour, just to be safe, because our policies, procedures said that. And I actually had it done when I was chief, and some people were pissed at me, but we were following one of the rigs doing 72 miles an hour on a back road. And it wasn't the first time. And, obviously we dealt with that person. You deal with that person. But when it
The rig
happening
even
more...
went that fast? Damn.
What?
It went 72?
Yeah.
Fuck.
So, but now,
back in a
it's in the NFPA standards now of speed. And it depends on your braking capacity and the types of tires and everything else. Like, it's rated. So, a lot of rigs are governed now at 65 miles an hour. Certain rigs
I
are
don't know.
less.
I think we only go 60.
Yeah,
That was-
some rigs are governed to 60. It
other
really
thing-
just depends on the rig. But that's set up now.
On those engines, the ladder rack on the side had the magnet, and if you turned too hard, if the magnet came off, it would kill the throttle. And it got to a point where it got to be a problem because I guess it was just a little bit loose, and the slightest little movement of the magnet would throttle would kill the throttle on. It's like I think they
There's
eventually
nothing
got
worse
that
than
fixed.
taking a turn and you lean too much and it kills the throttle. It's like,
Oh, I hate it.
yeah,
I
it's
hate
like-
it. It
it's like
drives
a-
me nuts.
It's like a letdown. It's
A
like,
lot
oh,
of times
fuck.
when I turn off Nichols to 347, a lot of times it happens to me where that throttle kicks off, and I'm like, damn, like,
I do it pulling out
I
of the
try
base
to
sometimes.
get it to that speed where it just doesn't,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I keep going. But yeah, so when we look at rigs, when we're going to buy rigs or spec rigs out, especially speccing rigs, you really should look at all avenues of what actually works for you or your department, because a lot of times they just give you a spec and they say, here you go, this is the rig. You can make changes to that. Like I said, width, length, dimensions, height. You can change anything you want within certain parameters as long as it's engineered correctly.
Right.
So, but
And make sure whatever you spec out, it'll fit in your fucking firehouse.
yeah.
yeah. Well,
See, the thing with that, specking
Houston's
it-
going through that right now.
Yeah.
They just bought a ladder truck that doesn't fit. Like, it's insane.
So you're saying you can spec things out and do what you want to do with them, like make modifications and stuff like that? I think who actually lets their members do that?
Well, for
Well,
instance,
truck committees. I mean, depending on the committee.
I feel,
For
I'm not even want
instance,
to get into it actually.
like I want to say it's Blue Point Fire Department. They have a train trestle going through their district.
Yes, they do.
And it's very low, and the street actually dips underneath it. And they
yeah.
had to get a specific rig that, because they would say all the time you'd have like FedEx trucks or UPS going through there, and they would just slam the top of their trucks into the train
There's a few
trestle.
places on the island. We have 2 trestles in my district that we have to go under, and it's close. And that's the thing. Like those clearance signs too. They give you a little bit of room. They're not exact. I think
They're a
what is
little
it?
taller than what they say.
if it's a yellow sign, I believe if it's a yellow sign, it's actual. If it's a white sign, there's room there. If I remember correctly, exactly. But when we bought our trucks, we went down there and measured to see how much clearance. But the white sign is usually because of snow. They're accounting for like 12 inches of snow to be on the ground because it could be higher.
I didn't know that.
So there's extra clearance there. But if you see the yellow signs, like the yellow signs on the Parkway where it says like on the edge 9.6,
Yeah.
that's actual. You don't want to screw that up.
Right.
But you should know your district. But once again, when we go outside of our districts, whether you're running mutual aid, auto aid, or you're standing by for other departments, like we see a lot of times departments are standing by for other departments. Nassau departments out here in Suffolk, or Suffolk departments out in Nassau, and everything else. If you don't know that area, you should find out a little bit about it before you start just driving everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, for instance, if we go over to Port Jeff, Sheep Pasture Road, there's a 2-ton bridge that goes over the railroad. Ain't doing it.
Don't go that way.
I wanted to do it once. I got yelled at. And I'm like, I think we can make it. I think
If
we
you
can
go
make
fast
it.
enough.
They're like, no, you're not going that way.
Probably make it.
So, but it's
But
a
the
two,
downside is
but that's a 2-ton bridge going over the railroad track. So, you got to have concerns depending
2
on
ton.
what
That's like local traffic only.
Well, it was originally like a 10-ton, then it went to a 5-ton, then to 2-ton. Like it's deteriorating.
Yeah.
And, they haven't replaced it. They need to put some money into it. But
Yeah.
We can actually get on. Our ladder truck's too tall, but the rescue truck, I can actually get on the Northern State.
Yeah.
And I can make that first turnaround where the state police always hang out, and you can go that far. The next, I don't know what road it is. Maybe New Highway.
Well, just
is
stay all the
too
way to the left
short.
lane, because if you stay in the left lane, it's taller.
taller,
there.
yeah.
Just don't go to right lane.
Yeah.
There was a picture a few years back. What was it? They were towing. They had on a flatbed like an EMS first responder vehicle, FDNY, and they hit the bridge. Did you see that?
Yo, I didn't know. I thought granted, how much does an ambulance weigh? Maybe like 14,000 pounds.
Depends on the ambulance. Most 14,000.
Like if it's
14,
standard,
15.
like F350, like whatever it is. I saw an ambulance on a flatbed, and it was outrageously tall, like way taller than I think should have been on the road.
Yep.
Like it scared me. I was on Park Avenue in Huntington.
Yeah.
And I saw this thing, and I was like, "Holy fuck!" I thought he was gonna hit traffic lights.
Well, most ambulances are 9-10 feet tall.
yeah.
Just a
And
standard
then
box.
put
No,
it 4
there's-
feet in the air.
there's
And
one-
some of them are even taller.
There's one around that area. I don't know if it's a fire department ambulance or an ambulance company, but they have what the fuck is the name of those trucks that they're on? It's a big truck, but it's an ambulance. I can't think of
Like
it.
MSU?
international chassis,
Yes,
like the
yeah,
big
yeah.
trucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the bombs have
Yeah,
those.
definitely bigger than normal.
yeah.
That might be what that was.
But it was on a flatbed pickup, like a
Yeah, it makes it that much higher.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I saw it and I was like, and then the center of gravity must have been like 8 feet in the air, like real high.
Yeah.
But it's very important to know the dimensions of your vehicle. Your height, your length, your width, everything. You should know that. And, nowadays they recommend that you actually have it in the cab or visible to the chauffeur.
We have a little
not
yellow-
not in the door, it's in the door. Nobody's looking at the door. You need it in big letters right on there. Some of the ambulances, or especially ambulances, they put it on the side of the ambulance so that when you're looking in the mirror, you can see it. It says clearance 9-6 or whatever. But this way, the chauffeur, when they're driving, they can look at it. But you got like tree branches that hang over roads and everything else, or signs or wires. You got to make sure you're going to have clearance.
Yeah, we got little plaques inside, just like little yellow tags that we put up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
I think it's a requirement now in FBA, but
probably is.
but still, we still see out there, it happens, where somebody in an ambulance tries to go through like the drive-through at McDonald's,
Yep.
and they snag a pole in the corner, or they snag the top of the rig, or even just firefighters, they sometimes we do stupid things, but you need to know the dimensions of your vehicle, where it's going to fit, where it's not.
Right.
The ambulances with those rehab places with the overhangs,
Yep.
you pull in like a U-shaped driveway, and you fucking smash
Well,
into that
look at
shit.
what they did
Yeah.
with us at Stony Brook University. They built the new ER in the backside of the hospital, and it's over like a parking area. It doesn't hold the weight of a fire truck,
Oh boy.
which is the most ridiculous thing in the world. Does
What,
not hold the weight.
Emergency room entrance for the
Yep.
ambulances? For the
Does not
helipad?
hold the weight of a fire truck. You can't drive your fire truck out there. So you pull in the front and you walk through.
That's a good exposure too, to put a rig.
And not only that, that's where they land the helicopter. So like,
that too.
you would think we would be able to get in there.
So
but
say a helicopter went on fire on that helipad, what do you do?
we're going to have to stretch a
Watch.
line.
Stretch a bunch of line? So what, you could probably pull the ambulance up that driveway as far as you can make it, and then you got to pull lines.
Fire truck.
It's not
Yeah.
too far
Yeah,
you can
fire
go,
truck.
though.
Yeah, sorry.
You
fire
just
truck.
got to get another helicopter to come with the wind to blow out the flames on the burning helicopter.
That'd be sick.
But it's important to know these things. What are the weight restrictions of where you're going, why you're going there. Like you're not going to pull an engine into a parking garage to put out a fire, are you?
Right.
So Jake's 58 is building a parking garage,
Correct.
and I think they actually are working with the district to spec out their parking garage so an engine can fit.
Wow.
pretty-
That's proactive.
Pretty high.
Yeah, I mean it'd be pretty tall.
That was years ago with
Tell you the
Computer
truth,
Associates.
you don't want to drive in. So, and I'll just give you a little
Don't
going
quote me on
back.
that.
I'm sorry, but so we used to allow our brush trucks to go into the parking garage and put fires out. That was our policy. And we stopped doing it because you get a good car fire, it's blackout conditions. The rig chokes out. You're not pumping any water anymore. So now we pull up next to it, we stretch off the standpipe in the parking garage.
Yeah.
Just because of that. And if you, I want to say, so I've been out 5, 6, so about 10 years ago, there was a big parking garage fire in Brooklyn. And we had a bunch of firefighters give Maydays and go down. But it was blackout conditions. It was so hot. We're very lucky we didn't lose any firefighters in that fire. Like, there were firefighters that literally went down unconscious but with the amount of smoke and fire. There were multiple cars on fire. When I was in Nashville this summer for the CMA Fest, about 8 blocks from my hotel, there was a parking garage fire where there was so much fire that it actually collapsed.
I was just going to think
So,
that too.
you know,
yeah.
these are not the safest things, and, you know, maybe they'll work it out, but just be very careful. You know, like we go into high-rise buildings, right? We take the elevator to 2 floors below, and we walk up because we don't want to open the elevator on the fire floor. You do not want to have an engine on the fire floor in a parking garage. And especially, God forbid, it's one of these electric
I was
cars
just
that you
gonna say
can't
that,
put
yeah,
out,
the EV cars.
or a gas tank lets go, you're going to be screwed.
Yeah.
So my suggestion would be don't drive into the parking garage.
Which is a crazy thing. Like most people would probably never experience a parking garage, car fires in parking
Some
garages.
people don't.
Because you don't really have many of them. Like we have maybe 1 or 2.
I've had plenty.
And they're outside. So you
well,
would
you think you're
you
outside.
think
Yeah.
that it's like, you're like, oh, it's just a parking garage. But like, I guess it's pretty contained, right? It'll stay
Well,
pretty contained.
it's pretty contained. I mean, you got a floor and you got a ceiling. I mean, the sidewalls are open at a distance, but you get a couple cars going. It's gasoline, diesel fuel, plastics.
Yeah, everything.
It's thick, black,
And
crappy
then
smoke. And
on top of that,
you
you
could be
also-
hundreds of yards in.
Right. Also, the other problem with that is in parking garages, to get up levels, it's all ramps. So if you're, you know,
You're going to be
fighting
driving
fire,
around and driving around, driving
no,
around.
not even that. I'm just saying all the flow of whatever's burning, if it's gasoline or water or something like that, coming down a
Yeah,
ramp.
I mean, they have drains and, you know, they're in certain areas. and
Yeah, but just from a firefighting standpoint, in one of those cases,
You're
it
better
could get a
off
little
taking
fucking
some,
crazy.
get a standpipe kit, put it on your shoulder, climb up the
Take a Fit
staircase,
5
and hook it up.
fucking frisbee it up there.
Fort Lauderdale.
We'll have
parking
drones
garage.
soon. We'll have drones.
Worst fucking parking garage in the fucking world.
Where?
Fort Lauderdale Airport. FLL.
Fort Lauderdale.
I
I've
rented
never been
a
in that
car.
I've never been in that airport.
Where do you usually fly?
I've been in that airport. I haven't been in that parking garage.
Oh, so I rented a car. I guess it was a busy weekend. I had to go all the way to it was pouring rain. I was at a convertible Porsche, fucking going all the way to the top of this fucking thing in the pouring rain. There was no spots anywhere. It was a fucking disaster.
Fort
Fucking hate
Lauderdale. Oh, it is in the. Yeah, you're right. It is in the park. It's up.
It's in the
yeah,
middle.
It's up a
yeah.
couple levels. You're
Yeah.
right.
It's like 5
So I have
levels.
been in there.
Fucking terrible parking
Yeah, because
garage.
when you come out, you got to go like up and down for the different car rental places
Yeah.
because they're on multiple
terrible,
floors.
terrible.
Yeah, and then
Well,
you
I
got to
did-
zip.
I
You
did-
got
I
to zip
rented it
around.
through
That's right.
Turo. You know Turo,
Yeah, Turo.
car rental thing. So I just parked it, but fucking terrible parking garage. Pissed me off.
Yeah, that is a big ass parking garage.
Yeah.
You're right.
Hopefully, they got standpipes in there.
I fly to Fort Myers if I can. Or PBI is even better because that place is easy to get in and out of.
Let's get into some submissions that we got.
Where are we at on time?
48 minutes.
Wow, we've been 48 minutes already. Holy cow!
Again, put it out there. What topics should we talk about? And somebody wrote, using junior members who are subject matter experts, example, electricians, something along those lines, to run a training, but making sure they're taken seriously despite lack of FD knowledge. And I think we've hit on this a few
little
times.
bit.
Very little, but I agree 100%.
If they're a subject matter expert and they have something to give, then you should get them to give it. I would do it in conjunction with another firefighter or a senior member that they can kind of work together, have a little plan. But yes, I mean, if they're a
Yeah, you don't wanna
plumber
just throw
or an
them.
electrician or, you know, they're an elevator mechanic and you want to do a class on elevators, they're going to know.
Yeah, it's-
The problem is you just don't want them to go too deep, you know, because they know they have that much more knowledge. You don't want them going too deep into areas that you wouldn't use as a firefighter.
Right, right.
Or teach people that it's outside their scope where they're going to get themselves into trouble. But there are certain techniques and there's certain things that could be very beneficial. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like somebody that builds houses, construction trade.
Construction's a big one. Elevators, huge one. If you have elevators in your district and you have an elevator mechanic in your fire department, or you get a guy that's an elevator mechanic, yeah, like you said, bring him in.
Just like I said, you pair them up with somebody that talks about how they respond to elevators, why they respond, what fireman service is all about, and how they use it, and then he can touch on how fireman service works, how the elevator door is shut, what are the controls, stuff like that.
Yeah.
What exactly? I had saw this come in. What exactly did he say?
Using like junior members, guys that are newer to the fire service that are subject matters in certain areas. So
Trades.
Say they cut trees, they know chainsaws. Like they could teach everybody how to take apart a chainsaw.
Yeah, we got a
put it
guy
back
who
together.
he's in his mid-30s, no fire service experience, but he's an iron worker. So he knows all about freaking concrete construction, rehab, rebar construction.
Yeah, like I think all that stuff is important, and I used to do it with guys that came in. We would be doing a drill or whatever, and I would know, oh, so and so, don't you build oil burners and service them? Oh yeah, I do. So then, how does this thing work? Mm-hmm. Well, why don't you teach us? Doesn't matter that you got a red shield on your helmet, like.
And that gets back to knowing your audience as an instructor. And I've been guilty of this, where I started talking about something and I had a pretty good clue, or I knew about it, and then this guy's like, well, Chief, if actually it's this way, and I'm like, oh, you're in the trade? And he's like, yeah, or masons and stuff like that. Like, I talk a lot about the difference between a brick building and a brick veneer building. There's a big difference. Like, you should know that, like how a brick building is constructed and why.
Right.
Or a block building, or, wood frame. So, sometimes by asking your audience or crowd, it's good to find out who you have in there that could assist you or help you. We got into this about the roof, and we saw some of the comments, oh, this guy doesn't really know what he's talking about. There's a lot more into, roof construction than just 30 to 60 pounds per square foot and all this stuff. We know that, but you got to understand, in fire conditions, the building is under demolition, basically, so your weight is even less. So yes, we understand. Just like sheetrock. Sheetrock actually has some sort of structural strength, as much as people think it's just sheetrock. Bamboo actually has structural strength.
Yeah.
So, understanding some of that background and how it works and why makes the difference.
Right.
My father's a retired carpenter, New York City carpenter. He says sheetrock and little zap screws hold New York City together.
They do.
Because
they do.
when you have all the metal studs, the only thing that the structural strength behind a metal stud is the sheetrock that's screwed to it.
Absolutely. And that's why they use thicker sheetrock, like 5/8 or 1 inch, in a lot of these buildings. But, you think about it. You put those metal studs up in a commercial building, like this building, right? There's probably metal studs in here. If the metal studs were up there and you ran into it, you'd go right through it. You'd knock it right over, right? And if you hit it from the side, they'd knock right over it. You put sheetrock on and run into it, you'll bounce off that wall. That's how much strength it gives it. There's a lot of support that you don't realize. And yes, everything in construction intermingles together to give a building or a structure its structural strength. But now you start taking some of those elements out, now you don't have that strength that you had before.
And to add to another part to this guy submitted is also using the fire department as a forum to present other life skills. For example, members that might have experience in the financial field, giving like a small little class on retirement or something along those lines.
Instead of the kitchen cowboys that tell you how to do your finances?
Yeah. But just, usually in the firehouse, you'll go up to somebody like, oh, you're a financial advisor, or you do this, you do that. Like, can you talk to me about this? Well, maybe there's other people out there that want to know that stuff, or
Absolutely.
You can help point somebody in the right direction. So why not go to, like I did a class at Hop Hog on fire alarm systems. Because at the time I was working on them, and we had a big board at our office that had all the different smoke detectors, carbon monoxide, the panels, all the different type of stuff. So now I'm able to bring it in to our firehouse and show people, well, this is what all this stuff is. Like this flap right here, this is what causes a trouble alarm on, for.
Well, why do we have a trouble
flow.
alarm?
Right? Yeah, or when this comes up, this is how a water flow alarm gets activated, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, if you have people out there, like, pair them up with somebody that's
And I think finances are important. I personally think it should be a required class in high school to balance a checkbook. You know how many people don't know how to balance a checkbook?
oh yeah.
Well, you don't need to balance checkbooks anymore.
Well,
for sure.
yeah, you kids, I know. Nobody wants to balance a checkbook.
I caught my dad balancing a checkbook maybe like 5 years ago. Like Sunday morning, we're just sitting around. I'm like, "What are you doing right now?" He's like, "I'm balancing my checkbook." I'm like, "Why are you doing that?"
Yeah, right.
I'm like, "What the
You
fuck
really
do you do?"
and I'll be honest, I don't do it anymore because you really don't need to. But to understand finances, banking, and the way things work, like we require classes that sometimes, and there's nothing against any of this, believe me, I'm not trying to go off the deep end here, but we teach people things that sometimes they'll never use in life. And the one thing everybody's going to have to do in life is finances. One way or another, you need to understand how finances work, how banks work, how credit works, why credit scores are important, mortgages, right? Everything. And then maybe even your pension, your retirement. So you need to get some sort of basis of that. And we don't teach it. Why?
Occasionally,
I don't understand.
I used to, like, every now and then I would run into, like, one of the teachers I had. And if it was a math teacher, oh, how's, life going, blah, blah. And I'm like, still haven't used fucking algebra.
Yep.
And I'm like, and now we actually do have calculators in our pockets.
Yeah.
That was like the big.
Well, take some
the big
collapse
saying.
classes and we'll start talking about angles and degrees and everything else.
Yeah,
and you'll
yeah,
use
it's a
some of your
whole-
algebra.
yeah.
But there are certain things that, you think you're never going to use. And then, some of this stuff comes back. Like, when I got in the fire department, got involved in hazmat stuff, and like Bobby has a chemistry degree when we had Salvesen here. But like, it all of a sudden I'm sitting in a hazmat class and I'm like, holy cow, high school chemistry's coming back now. I'm
Well,
like,
it's funny,
Jesus, I thought I was never going to do this stuff.
So my brother.
And then I wind up teaching this stuff.
My brother said he just got on the board something with his son's school or whatever, and like he kind of had to write something to get onto it, and he wrote this whole thing about how the education system failed me and my other brother because we had different interests than what we were learning. But
Right.
my brother, the way he broke it down, he said my brother was terrible at math. He like barely passed math in high school and stuff like that. And it was always, why aren't you good at this, blah, blah. But at the same time, he's, a few years later, learning how to do math problems to pump water from
Right.
an engine
I
into a
was just gonna
fire
say-
under
Yep.
severe circumstances
Correct.
where you have to get this right and right away.
Yeah.
So it's-
Calculations with friction loss,
Yep.
right, and pumping capacities, and even trying to figure out the amount of foam you might need. So where those math equations that you thought were BS or you're never going to use it, you could be using it in a volunteer fire service.
Right. It was just the way that it was taught.
The way that kids are taught now. I mean, when my girls were growing up, and they're your age, they're like, oh, can you help me with my math? And they're like, this is the way the teacher does it. I go, no, you don't do it that way. You do it this way. And they're like, no, that's wrong. This is right. I'm like, we're coming up with the same answer, but there's a whole new way to do math now.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm so curious how
it's so different.
school is now, because like we didn't have AI, we didn't have
it's changing quick.
technology.
We had
I
computer
can't
class.
imagine.
Computer science.
I really can't imagine, because I have a bachelor's in computer science. I've done software engineering, all that stuff. The new technology, like, you don't even need to learn how to do it anymore.
It's insane.
Like,
But that's scary because you're not using your brain, and
Yeah, that's the other argument.
that comes back to your mental performance. Like if you don't use your brain, you're going to lose your brain. It's like anything else, right? I talk about perishable skills a lot, right? We learn something, you have to continue to do it so that you don't lose it. And it's the same idea with your brain, with math, or all this technology is if we fail to do it, nobody's going to know how to do it. And what happens when the machine breaks?
They're
Then
going
what?
to take over the machines.
Well, but
Like iRobot.
we're going to get to the point where nobody knows how to do anything. Everybody needs to learn how to do things. And even if you don't do it all the time, you got to keep up on certain things to make it happen.
Right. Last thing I have here from the submissions, somebody wrote, calling a Mayday and the importance of ending the stigma around it.
What do you mean about calling a Mayday?
Yes, and
don't be
about-
a bitch. Don't call me.
Yeah,
Don't,
well-
don't give a Mayday because you're afraid they're going to break your shoes?
Yeah, I think that's what he's getting
Yes.
to. And I've heard quite a few. I'm sure you have a bunch of stories on
Yeah,
it.
I
You
didn't.
got stories on
I
it.
didn't give a Mayday once because I didn't want to be embarrassed. But I I just took a second to think back to my training and what I was doing, and I got myself out of the situation. But it can be troublesome. But, you know, I think sometimes, and I think you do need to call a Mayday early enough that people can come help you. You don't want to get too far into a situation that you wait too long, that you get yourself into more trouble. But then again, we're also teaching people, just give the Mayday. And some of these people may not be into a problem because they're not thinking. You know, you got to think. And one of the situations I got into where I was very close to giving a Mayday, I was run out of air, vibrate alert was off. I got separated from my partner in a large attic, and I couldn't find my way back to the stairs. And I was getting a little nervous. And I actually just stopped for a second. I closed my eyes, I took a deep breath, and we talked about this, about skip breathing. But once you get some fresh air into your brain again, you think. And I said, all right, let me think a second. I know I came in through this way, and, you know, you start reverting back to your training. I'm like, all right, well, what else can I do? So I turned myself around because I knew I was back in the right direction. And the one thing I shouldn't have done, but I pulled my face piece off just a little, and I just yelled out, is anybody out there? And a guy answered me after the second time, that quick. And I'm like, where are you, bro? And he started coming to me. I went to them, to a different person, and I said, where's the stairs? And he goes, it's right over here. And he got me to where the stairs was. I said, thanks, bro. That was it.
Yep.
You know, and I was embarrassed, but I found my way back. I got in touch with my partner. And I did have a radio. I could have called him, but I was like embarrassed to even call him. But I got my way back to the stairs. I found my partner, and we were good. But, you know, could I have given a Mayday there? Yeah, I was kind of freaked out. I was panicking a little bit. I was running out of air. But all I did was take a deep breath, think about what I was doing. And I was like, I know there's 3 or 4 other guys up here. We can't be too far apart.
Right.
You know, and sure enough. And this was going way back in my career. It's going back quite a while. But I learned from that experience. Like I say, you always have to learn from every experience. But I think sometimes we tell people, just give the Mayday. Don't worry about it. You can always cancel it, which is true. But you also don't want to cause the scene to go into panic or chaos as well, because you're panicking. Now you can turn other people into panic. So I think it's important to give a Mayday. I think it's important to give it early enough that you can do it. But think about what you're doing and why are you in that situation.
Yeah, and
you know,
I think
I mean,
there's-
obviously there's a collapse, you're stuck, or you're out of air. Different stories, like, you know. And then the other thing, and listen, I'm not blowing up on anybody else's crap or what we teach out there in the world. We teach curriculum in a lot of these academies and everything else. But, you know, if you're giving a Mayday, okay, first off, everybody should be listening, because it could be the last couple words this person's getting out. So everybody should just shut the fuck up, listen to the radio, and kind of zone in on what this person's saying if somebody's saying Mayday. That's number one. Number two, if you're giving a Mayday, just say who you are, where you are, and what the hell is going on. 3 things. I know we teach lunar and all this other stuff. That's great. But if you can get those 3 things out, and Chief Salk has said this for many years, who, what, where. And I truly believe that. We've been talking about this for a long time. Who you are, where you are, and what your problem is. I'm on the 2nd floor rear. I'm running out of air. There's a ladder 1 officer, whatever. Tell them where you are, who you are, and what's going on. If you get those 3 things out, and even repeat it if you can, people will know, and they'll be able to come get you.
Right.
If you're trying to think of your location, your unit number, your name, are you a radio equipped? All this, no, they know you're radio equipped. You're on a radio, or if you need resources, you need help. You're calling for help. People are coming to get you.
Right.
So just say who, what, and where. Let people get to your location as fast as possible. And if you can, and I say this a lot, make a move. Make a move to get yourself into a better location, situation, but tell people where you're going. All right? Don't, just sit and curl up in a ball and not try to do something.
Definitely never
Because
stop moving, right?
if you stop and you get yourself into trouble. I'm not saying go deeper into a more shit situation, but if you can figure out, close the door, get yourself to a window, something where people can come get you, it's going to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would never criticize someone for making a Mayday.
I was gonna say,
unless you're like a
I
repeat
wouldn't either.
offender,
Yeah.
which I don't think that would
never,
be.
like, I remember hearing a story years ago, and I won't.
I'd rather get my balls broken in the kitchen or back at the firehouse than be dead.
You're gonna get
Yeah.
that anyway, so.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't ever. I mean, I've been, or I've heard like maybe one, maybe two Maydays the entire time I've been in the fire service, and like one of them really wasn't like there was people all over the place. Somebody just got a little panicked. I think it was a newer person, which is fine. But the last thing I thought to myself was, "Oh, this guy's pussy." Like, no, he got fucking scared. And
I'd be more curious what the situation.
yeah,
is.
like, hey, okay, we got you out. Now let's debrief. What happened?
If you're my friend, I'll probably
Well,
be like,
first
"What
off,
are you,
make
fucking
sure
scared?"
that if you give a Mayday and you get to safety, you should clear the Mayday. That's first off.
Yes.
Very important
Yep.
that people aren't going to look for you, that you're already in a good place. So if you get yourself out of harm's way, get out of the building, or somebody gets you out, cancel it, all right? And make sure if you are going to cancel it for somebody else, make sure that's the person that gave the Mayday, okay? And this happened to, well, it's happened multiple places. Jared Lloyd was the one in what was that, Westchester County or Rockland County? They gave a Mayday. They knew guys were missing. Then somebody says, "Oh, we got the Mayday," and meanwhile, it wasn't the Mayday; it was somebody else. So you got to make sure that you have the right person. And there could be multiple Maydays. If there's one, there could be multiple. But you got to make sure that if you're canceling a Mayday, it's either you personally, or you're ensuring that you are the person, or that is the person that gave that Mayday. Don't just assume I got the Mayday.
Right.
If you find somebody down, you give a Mayday for that person. Whether they gave a Mayday or not, you give another Mayday that you found somebody on the ground until you realize that or confirm that that's the real person.
Right.
All right? But don't ever just think that you have everybody. Make sure your accountability is there.
Absolutely. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Episode 36.
36 out.
Gooch. Roll it.
That went by quick.